So welcome to another exciting episode of Railcar Restorers on the Road. Here we're in our home county of Norfolk, and behind us you probably recognise this site. This is 50479 and we're at the North Norfolk Railway today with Moxon doing a 2-yearly update on the unit, and we're going to do a little bit of a comparison of where they were, where they now are, and a little bit of how they found running their trailer car in the first 12 to 18 months of running.
So yeah, this is the 2-yearly update. Obviously you're going to see some progress on this behind. It's rather tatty this end, but the other end of it is looking very nice indeed.
Yep, I'll be taking you through with Chris. We're going to go round the outside, see where certain things have come off 51400s and the parts that have benefited this vehicle. And yeah, we'll take you inside and out. Right, Chris, nice to be back here with you 2 years later, looking at 50479. Obviously got into a nice coat of blue here, looks lovely. Can you take us through exactly what you've done over the last 2 years, please?
Okay, so 2 years ago when you last visited, we'd only really just started on the project. A little bit of stripping down here and there, a little bit of paint stripping off the outside to sort of see where we were exactly with the bodywork. So as you can see, we've now fulfilled phase 1 of the exterior restoration, which is split into 3 parts because that's what we can fit in our restoration tent here. Phase 1 consisted of the total renewal as required of framework and bodywork of the guards compartment at the back end. So yeah, total renewal of the skin in the lower half, which you can see here. Last time in the video, this was the very section that was split away at the bottom and was able to be pulled away.
You're a lot stronger now.
Yes, that's right. So this has had a lot of framework renewal and new skin, which has been welded in, all attached, prepped with filler and treated to several coats of British Rail improved green.
Oh, very good. And I see obviously different to us and our rubbers.
Yes, we've got windows refitted as well in this third of the vehicle, bonded directly onto the steel skin using a sealant tape. It's called Arbo Seal, which we found with other 104 restorations to be successful. This is what all the window glass in the trailer car we restored was done with, and we're intending to reuse it on here. So it's not been quite cut back yet. We're letting it settle for a while, but okay. 6 sheets of glass newly fitted to this third of the vehicle. It's nice to start putting restored components back in rather than just pulling rotten sections out for a change.
Oh, got you. Okay.
Nice.
If we can have a look inside.
Yeah.
Going to start back here.
So this is the very rear of the vehicle, where the guard, I mean we refer to this area as the guard's compartment, but the actual main space is primarily used for luggage. The actual guard himself occupies this end, which is distinguished from the rest by these partial wing walls. So the guard's seat would be located in this corner, all stripped out at the moment, but over the winters we've been renewing and restoring all the parts that we've taken out of here, and they're all restored and in storage ready to go back in. So items like the guard seat window surrounds are all pretty much ready now to go back in due course.
For a guard, he had quite a nice view, really, dear, at the back, didn't he?
Yes, Class 104s are fairly unusual in having full-size windows in the very corners, so the guard gets
a lot of
little
light
more,
in here. Yeah.
The guard gets far more glass than in many other designs, which is nice for him.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, so they're doing a great job, and obviously he's got his cupboard here.
Yeah, there's some, even in a wreck such as this one, occasionally you find components that there's just nothing really much wrong with them, and that equipment cupboard there was one of those items. It was inside, it had survived, so it's been stripped back of its old paint just to give it a smooth surface, and there was no need to remove it. So that's one of the few items that's still in here.
Lovely. And we'll go through to this next part. Take us through some of your work here.
So last time you were in here, the bulkhead partition that separates what would be an enclosed vestibule here and the guards van here, this had to be removed to tackle the extensive corrosion that was found in this area.
Right.
This was caused by the gutter coming away above the doorways, because as a structure, as a vehicle, with all this sort of steel and box section, obviously where the doorways are cut away to allow humans to enter and exit, that creates a bending sort of movement as the vehicle fridges and vibrates, especially with the engines. So we tend to find that on unpowered trailer car vehicles, the areas above the doors stay fairly straight and stable. On power cars, over a very long 20-30 year period, the vibration of the engines pulls at the metal and it pops, expands, contracts and pops in areas where it's weakest. And on a box section structure like this, the areas that are weakest are where you've cut most of it away to put the doorway in. So these areas up here are where the gutters pop off. Once the gutter pops off, water then enters and then spreads.
Yeah, not help from what you were explaining earlier on, that where the unit might have been stabled on a bit of an incline and help the water travel down the vehicle.
Yes, we believe this was on a slight hill, so when it entered the gutter area up here, it travelled in this direction and not only wrote off the metalwork above the door, but also took all this out down here.
Yeah.
So what you see of this panel here, all of this here and here, is all new framework as well as skin.
Yeah, it looks a treat. Yeah, you've really done a big change here, that's for sure.
You look at these windows, you can see the refitted window designs, which are a series of studs welded to the inside of the vehicle, and wooden gripper bars then bolt onto those, pinning the glass between the wooden gripper bar on the inside and the outer skin of the vehicle on the outside. It's not a very good design. Rubbered windows with window frames are far superior, as extensively used on other coaching stock and DMUs. However, we are stuck with what we're stuck with. For it to be historically accurate, we've refurbished and maintained the original design, which hopefully with modern mastics and keeping on top of water ingress and corrosion and nipping up any small holes that do appear, hopefully we can have a better go at.
Yeah, because unlike BR, you'll be dedicated to this unit. You know, anything you see that's going to sort of be a problem, you'll be on top of right away, sort of thing. Really.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah, like we think with ourselves as well. But yeah, no, it's coming along nicely, you know.
So the main focus at the moment in here is with the renewed steel work, we're now starting to fit these pink sections of wood, which are the supporting timber work, which can attach to the steel, and all the panelling and all the bits you actually see when it's finished all screw onto that supporting woodwork. So we've got this nest of supporting timber slowly going in, and we are also starting to hang the double doors into the doorways.
Which I understand you're having a lot of fun with.
Yes, doors don't like to go back. We have had several challenges getting these doors to go back, but which we're still working through. But
trial and error. Yeah, we know it well.
We hope to chop and shave and gently get them in where we want them to.
Yeah, once it all comes together, you'll feel really good after that, after the effort that's going in, that's for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. We've glazed this third. We're now looking to fit the doors in this third, and finally the corridor connection, which will give us the pieces we need to make this third externally finished and watertight. And at that point, we will move the vehicle along 20 foot and move the middle section into our restoration tent for the same process to continue.
Okay, I mean, obviously no one likes to give dates and things, but you've got a rough idea when you're going to be onto that stage doing the next part?
So we'd like to box this third up and finish it later this season.
Right, okay.
So that movement into phase 2 will hopefully occur later this year.
And this part nicely watertight?
Nicely watertight, out in the open along the other side.
Yeah, proving itself that it is watertight and good. Yeah.
What we like to do is we like to bring the interior up to pretty much as you see it now. We won't go much further than this.
Yeah.
Once we'll then finish what we need to finish, move it along, and phase 2 will consist of the metalworking people and team starting to pull apart and do exactly the same, rinse and repeat, exactly the same process, but for the middle compartment, middle saloon. And other people simultaneously will be in this third, firstly assessing any water leaks, any of these gripper bars that are not quite nipped up. You can get little slow leaks of water.
Yeah.
Check that the roof is sound, check everything's okay, there's nothing coming in through the doors, this sort of thing. Once it's had a proving good few rainstorms with it outside, once we're completely satisfied that there's not any water coming in whatsoever, we can then, at the same time as doing the middle section, we can have then panelling out, ceilings going back in.
Right,
We're very conscious we don't want to cover any of this up until it's had that proven water testing.
Starts becoming a bit of a production line then, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then depending on, we can then skip between the two depending on conditions. You know, if it's warm or cold, if there's painting or non-painting to do, you know, there the conditions may not be good enough to be doing metalwork in that half, but we can maybe panel this half out, so we can always be busy.
Oh, good. That sounds really good. So lots of progress being made here. So I think there's been great strides made in the last 2 years. I think everybody agree. If you refer back to one of our previous videos, which I'll get Johnny to put a little number to the previous video we did here. But I think, yeah, you're doing a great job, Chris. You and the team, so well done. I think now we'll have a little look around the outside of the vehicle. Right, folks, here we are on the outside of 50479. This, looking at it, is a big project, just like our 51370. I would say this is 51370, as we affectionately call Lazarus. This is Lazarus's twin sister, I think. Lots of work to do, but I think at the end of the day, both teams have got the skills to turn our projects around. But Chris, can you take us through Lazarus too?
Right, so 2 years ago when you last came, it was still tarpaulined over. I won't lie, the tarpaulin was claimed by a winter storm. It just broke up and nearly flew off. So whilst it would have been nice to keep it covered a little bit longer, it was time for the tarpaulin to go, but it has allowed it to dry out a little bit in the sort of summer months. So yeah, this shows the future. The bodywork is same state as the rear was when you last visited.
Yeah.
We've not done a huge amount to this front end because, as I say, we are working from the back of the vehicle towards the front. But it does give a good illustration of sort of where we've come from in the back. We'll be doing exactly the same thing. We have on summer days we have run down the sole bar with a needle gun and painted it gloss black just as a starting point to start to get things going. You'll notice the blue doors that are hanging on in the door apertures. We've taken all of its original doors off for refurbishment over winter months, so it was without its doors, which wasn't a problem when the tarpaulin was on, but when the tarpaulin came off we'll need to fill the holes up again. So a bit of a shout out to the 51400 stripping project that you guys instigated. We were able to purchase 10 Class 117 doors, which were very usefully able to be swapped. I'd like another shout out to the staff and volunteers of the Midland Railway Trust up at Butterley. They had a big set of X-Class 115 doors, which were not quite so suitable for their future projects, but they are usable substitutes for Class 104 doors, funnily enough. So we swapped 10 117 doors, X51400, with 10 115 doors. The 117 doors were more useful for them, the 115 doors were more useful for us. So these doors you see now are temporary Class 115 doors that are just keeping the vehicle vaguely weather tight for the time being, and they will also be useful to be overhauled and substituted onto 104 vehicles in the future.
Oh, that's good to hear. Good to hear, Chris. So, yeah, you want to take us around the front of the vehicle?
So if we move round. The cab front is without a doubt one of, if not the worst section of the vehicle. This will have to be completely renewed, which I spoke fairly extensively about last time, so probably no need to dwell on it too much. But here's an exterior view of it. You can see up at the top there, it's just completely gone. The glass and rubber's hanging in midair. It's well corroded at this end, so this will have a complete framework and skin renewal from top to bottom. Probably this will be the only section of the vehicle that will be completely brand new, like including the framework right the way up to the gutter level.
Yeah.
Most of the renewal will be lower half around the rest.
The before and after is obviously going to be something to see in the future, that's for sure.
Other than that, it's fairly complete. One of the missing items was the jumper cables. The sockets are all there, but the jumper cables themselves at the front weren't there when it came to us, so that was another pair of parts that 51400 has provided for this project.
Well, that's good to hear. It's benefited a lot of projects up and down the country, and it just shows that it's an emotive subject, sometimes scrapping vehicles, but it can provide so much more for other projects to make them go forward. So it's I'm glad 51400 is doing its doing the rounds.
Yeah, so doors, jumper cables, coupling and jumper sockets are items that we'll be directly using onto this project.
And Smith's heaters.
Heaters
Yeah.
are going onto other vehicles as well,
Yeah.
and a host of other parts that are going to play their part in the spares pile for if we receive any unexpected failures going forwards.
Yeah, lovely. It's good to hear. Good to hear.
If we come round further. So moving on round to these mechanicals of this vehicle. We have only dipped our toe in the water when it comes to underneath so far. The primary focus remains bodywork, the biggest hill to get over. However, last summer we couldn't help ourselves and felt that things had been standing around for so long it would be a good idea to have some initial investigations. The old adage of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So we went round and went seeking if anything was just still good to go. So we did some checks and due diligence, changed over all the waters and oils, and then found that it was worth trying to give the engines a start, trying to see if any of the systems come back into life. I'm pleased to say that with very little effort, both engines did fire up.
Lovely. Lovely. Yeah, I think we've seen you send us some footage of that. That was maybe we can get hold of that possibly. I'm not sure.
Briefly include that footage maybe at this point.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Yeah, it's always nice to see a bit.
It was always a good feeling. Always a good feeling, which we never got with the trailer car, of course. With the trailer obviously being a trailer, but fairly early on in the restoration, it's always fun to see if you can get the thing started up and see what works and what doesn't. It's also quite informative to tell you what your job list mechanically is going to be going forwards once we're a bit more progressed and we start to look at setting the mechanics up properly for full service.
Oh, that's great. No, it's been good good amount of progress over 2 years, that's for sure. And yeah, I can see it in my head the way it's all going to come together. Having looked at what you've done so far on the rear, and obviously what you've done on 56182, it's there to be ridden on. You can come down and ride on 56182. It's out in traffic, so yeah, you can just picture what 50479 is going to be like. So yeah, thank you very much for showing us around, Chris, and we'll come back in another 2 years for an update if that's all right.
Always welcome.
Thank you very much, mate. Right, folks, that's the end of our look round 50479. It's nice to get this 2 yearly update, and like I say, the lad's doing a great job. If there's anybody who would like to come and work on this unit and like to become a member of the group, I'm sure they would welcome you in, speed up the works of the preservation that's going on here.
Yeah, as you said, it's nice to see the progress that's been made, and also it's nice to see yet again more 51400 parts going on with further use, jumper cables playing a part, the coupling, other little bits and pieces, and the most notable thing probably being the blue doors.
Yeah, and I will, obviously that end's going to come out quite soon. I will link their Facebook page down below so that you can keep right up to date with all the progress they're making. And I'd just like to say thank you yet again for them letting us come around here, really having an all inside out kind of tour. And thank you for you to watching, and we'll see you in the next very exciting video.